No doubt, COVID-19 has changed life as we know it. But in this dark time, ordinary citizens are rising up to help their fellow countrymen and countrywomen. Jess Auerbach, a doctor who's a senior lecturer of social anthropology at the University of the Northwest, has led a team to record these random acts of kindness. She's joining us now live on the Midday. Dr. Auerbach, good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday View. What made you do this? Why? I mean, in the middle of trying to stay alive, you decided, let me check out what's happening kindness-wise. What led you to undertake this project? Can we begin there?
Thanks, Dan, and thanks for having me on the show. So what actually started the project was a personal crisis where when lockdown was announced, I and my husband suddenly didn't have a place to stay, and a complete stranger, with somebody we'd met very briefly, said, well, you can move into my house because I'm going to spend lockdown at my brother's. And having that personal experience really moved me. It was quite an incredible thing to feel and to live through. And I'd previously written a book about beauty in Angola and the ways that people recover after situations of crisis. So I was quite interested in what happens in exceptional times and how people come together. And I was just paying attention and saw that all around the country, people were doing quite remarkable things to help one another through this unprecedented moment. And I thought, well, you know, I'm not an essential worker, but as an academic, I am in some ways a civil servant, and it felt really important to use whatever skills I had to document what was going on, and then to draw my students on board to do the same.
Yeah, and beyond everything else, before rather everything else, you are a human being, and these human connections, these human interactions are the ones that keep us going, keep us alive. So what are the highlights? What did you find out? What are these stories?
So many. I mean, we in the end, we had more than 2,000 stories collected from around the country. There's some people sent in, some my students went and found, and they were the most remarkable things. They were tiny actions, like one individual who said, well, people need to stay connected, so I'm going to unlock my Wi-Fi and make it so that anybody who's in range of the Wi-Fi can stay in touch with their families. There were other really dramatic things where people organized ways to feed animals in nature reserves, for example, where people cook millions and millions and millions of meals for their fellow South Africans. You had community kitchens, community action networks all around the country just working around the clock to make sure that nobody went hungry. And nurses, for example, donating blood at the end of their shift so that we didn't run out of blood in the country's blood banks. You know, remarkable actions. Little kids writing cards to people in hospitals who couldn't have visitors. Everybody of every age, every background, really stepping up in whatever way they could. And it was quite incredible to see, and it's easy to forget, but we really don't want us to forget that.
Yeah, and you've collected all these stories, and are you putting them in a book format? And what's the purpose here? Besides, of course, showcasing this level of type and of kindness.
Absolutely, yeah. We've put them in a book. It's called Archive of Kindness: Stories of Everyday Heroism During the South African Pandemic. You can see it here. And the book's been illustrated by a young artist who's just finished his fine art degree. His name's Jethro Longwe, and he's done the most beautiful illustrations, and it really brings together 50 of the 2,000 stories. And we're hoping that people are going to read it and find some inspiration. There's a place where they can write down their own experiences. We're getting the book into all South African libraries and hoping to have it in many South African schools so that people remember that beneath and amongst all the challenges, we're also a nation of people who really care for one another and are really willing to go that extra mile whenever there's an emergency like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, you've got a virtual background. So when you raised the book to show, it didn't don't worry, it didn't really show. But is it, you said libraries, you can find it in libraries. Is it on any bookstores yet?
Yep, so you should be able to get it in most South African bookstores if you just ask for Archive of Kindness. I know it's at exclusive, it's at many of the smaller bookstores as well. Otherwise, you can email sales@bkpublishing.co.za, and the team is really fantastic. It's a book that has moved a lot of people already. We've had wonderful feedback from those who've read the book to their kids because it's beautifully illustrated, and using the book in teaching. And we even have other universities around the world wanting to do the same project with their students because it had such an impact on the students who were involved. One student said he wasn't going to immigrate anymore. Many of the other students said it completely changed the way they saw South Africa, just really focusing on what's actually working in the country at a time when sometimes it's easy to get lost in some of the challenges.
Powerful stuff. I must get hold of this book. Thank you very much, Dr. Auerbach, and hopefully soon you will be a professor at the University of the Northwest. That's Jess Auerbach, a senior lecturer of social anthropology at the Northwest University.